In today's class, we will be learning the topic, Paul before Roman governors. Paul stood before Felix, the Roman governor, to defend himself against the accusation leveled against him by the Jews. They said Paul was a troublemaker who had caused rebellion among the Jewish people all over the world and the ringleader of the Christians who tried to profane the temple. Paul confessed that he was a follower of Jesus Christ and a Christian by religion. But he did not go against the Jewish religion and their law. He said the Jewish religion itself believed that there will be a resurrection of the dead of both the righteous and unrighteous on the day of judgment. Though Felix did not find Paul guilty in any way, but he did not allow him to be set free. He said would decide on Paul's case when a commander called Lysia come around. What Felix actually wanted was a bribe from Paul before he could set free. But Paul did not do what Felix expected, and therefore he was left in prison till another governor called Porcius Festus came to power and succeeded Felix. Paul trial before Festus. After the new governor, Pontius Festus, came to power, he went up from Caesarea to Jerusalem. While he was in Jerusalem, the high priest and the chief men of the Jews brought up the case of Paul before him. They asked him to send Paul to Jerusalem for trial. They had already planned to kill him on the way. But Festus answered them that Paul should be accused in Caesarea, that he himself was going there. When he came to Caesarea, Festus sent from Paul and brought out of prison for trial. The Jews who had come from Jerusalem laid many serious accusations against Paul, which they prove. While Paul was defending himself, he declared that all the charges brought against him were false. He asked Paul this question, "Are you willing to go up to Jerusalem and there be judged before me concerning these things?" Paul knew that he would get a fair trial in Jerusalem. But Paul, being a Roman citizen, used his right to appeal to Caesar. Festus then held a meeting with the council. They came out with the decision that Paul must appear before Caesar. Festus said to Paul, "You have appealed to Caesar you shall go." Paul's trial before Agrippa. King Herod Agrippa visited Caesarea to welcome Festus, who was the new governor. Then Festus informed King Agrippa about Paul, who was left in prison by Felix, the former governor. King Agrippa said he would like to listen to Paul himself. Paul was brought before Festus and King Agrippa the following day. Festus mentioned the case of Paul before the king. He told the king that Paul was not guilty of any of the charges made against him by the Jews. He therefore urges the king to listen very attentively to Paul's defense to find out if he could bring any charges against him for record purposes. Then King Agrippa permitted Paul to speak. Paul started his address by speaking about his early life. He told the king that he was a strict Jew right from youth and that he belongs to the sect of Pharisee. Paul referred to how he had persecuted the Christians in Jerusalem in order to defend the Jewish religion. He said while he was on his way to Damascus to persecute the Christians, he was converted to Christianity. Paul added that his preaching was in obedience to the vision he received from heaven. He first preached the gospel in Damascus, then in Jerusalem and throughout the entire region of Judea and to the Gentiles, that the people should repent and turn to God. Paul continued to tell the king that he did not say any other things than what Moses and the prophets said would happen. That Jesus Christ would suffer, that they would be the first to rise from the dead, and would proclaim light to the Jewish people and to the Gentiles. When Paul had ended his defense, the king, the governor and all who sat with them stood up and discussed together and agreed that Paul had not done anything wrong that can warrant death or imprisonment. Then the king said to the governor, "This man had been set free if he had not appealed to Caesar." Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.